Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Trailblazers.fm podcast. My guest today is my good brother Ash Cash. Ash, welcome to Trailblazers.fm, my brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I appreciate you to share me with the Trailblazers fam. So thank you, man. Thank you.
Thank you for blessing us with this conversation, man. I'm so excited. So we are days away. At the time we're recording this, we're days away from the end of a year, the end of a decade. And as you reflect on this time, the season of life that we're in right now, what are you most grateful for? What are you most blessed to have in your life?
Man, I'm most grateful for clarity of purpose,
Yeah.
As you talk about the end of a decade, and I reflect on the last 10 years, there's been a lot of like emotional roller coasters, like ups and downs. And I'm saying that and it's crazy because normally my life has always been like, if everything is all bad, then everything is bad. Or if everything is good, everything is good. But like for the last decade, it just felt like, you were living your best life and your worst life simultaneously. Like things were like going up and down. So I feel like this year or this decade and going into a new decade allowed me to realize clarity of purpose, that no matter what your circumstance is, if you're clear on why you're here, none of that actually matters. And in fact, the perspective of I'm living my best life and I'm living my worst life is actually false, because the good, the bad, the ugly are all working together to get you closer to what you have asked God for, what you have asked the universe for. And I think that I'm grateful that I have that new perspective, because the old perspective would be like, oh my God, like, why is this thing happening to me? And, and really kind of bumming out over the things that are quote unquote negative. And then I'll be super duper excited about the things that are, quote unquote positive. And so now emotionally I'm up, I'm down, and it's like nowhere to be. Now that I understand that the good, the bad, everything is working together, I stay here, right? Like there's nothing quote unquote good that can happen that'll take me here. There's nothing bad that could take me here. I just stay here. And I understand that I told the universe, this is what I want. And the universe has the best route, the best direction to get me there. And because I'm clear on my purpose every single day, I understand that everything is working, for my greater good. And so I am so grateful for that perspective, because it keeps you sane. It keeps you, moving. It keeps you in a space where you never give up. And it actually gives you the attitude and the skills and the tools, the resources required to manifest your dreams in real life.
I couldn't agree with you more. I teach my own students from a branding perspective that as a baseline, you have to be clear on your mission and your vision, right? So what you're talking about is understanding your why, understanding why you are doing what you're doing, and having clarity, as you talked about, clarity of purpose, clarity as to what you are pursuing, right? So that you're able to go forward, no matter when the valleys and the peaks come, you're still aiming at a clear target. You have a clear target on the board. So love that you shared that. Ash, you grew up in Harlem, right?
Yes, Harlem, born and raised, man. The St. Nicholas Projects, man. Yes.
So much happening there right now, right?
Yes. Oh,
it's
absolutely.
A completely different Harlem.
Oh my God. I can't even recognize the Harlem that, so I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. So this is like the height of the crack era. Yeah. And so I'm talking about Harlem, where there were like burned down buildings, abandoned buildings, crack valves in the staircase, zombies even, like the crack had just, really hit. Now, there's people jogging at night, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's hotels and there's like, Fortune 500 companies and retail shops. It's almost weird, to like, know a place for, I want to say, 20 plus years, and then to go back and just say, wow, this is not even the place I grew up in. So yeah, there's a lot going in Harlem, and a lot of shift, but a lot of the shift is good though too, right? So a lot of the things, especially now that I have a bigger awareness of I wrote a book called Mind Right, Money Right. And in one of those, in the book, I have a concept called See More, Be More, which means that the more you have access to, the more you can see, the more your imagination can create and manifest things. And knowing that Harlem is a place now where you can see abundance, you can see, restaurants that are owned by people that look like you. You can see businesses are thriving. So it's not only other people coming into Harlem taking it over. There are a lot of people who were from Harlem, who grew up in Harlem, who are making some great things happen. And now you think about the young people that come behind them, they could actually see that and have a different vision, a different trajectory for their life.
Representation of success in its different
absolutely.
forms. Did you develop an awareness for finance and money at an early age in all that?
Absolutely. So, I grew up, typical urban, story. So, single parents. So my mom raised 3 of us. And then my mom, she had to work. And so, my brother, my sister, and I, we sort of like kind of had to fend for ourselves. And so my mother's originally from Haiti, right? And so because and so because she was from Haiti, her English wasn't that well, and so she couldn't get sort of like top paying jobs. So she had to work at factories and stand on her feet all day. And so she's getting like beyond, below minimum wage, not being able to take care of 3 kids. And so for me, understanding the landscape, right? Harlem is the home of the hustlers. And so I was seeing early on people hustling, and not drugs. Like I was at 8 years old, I was at the local supermarket packing bags, right? Like packing grocery bags, helping old ladies to their home, getting $1 here and there. By the time I was like 12 years old, I started selling mixtapes and t-shirts on 125th Street. So I've always been a hustler. I've always had, money. I've always been an entrepreneur. And so, as I got older and older, I always had that knack. Like how do I get access to finances? How do I make my money grow? How do I, take this money and invest it in something? Like I've always had that on a smaller scale. So as I got older and started working jobs, and then eventually became a teller, and eventually, from a banking perspective, I was a teller, personal banker, private banker, branch manager, CEO of a credit union. Like all of that stuff kind of, came from my early upbringing. But I always knew that, like, I love money. Till this day, I still love money. But I love money for what it can do, right? Because I've been on both sides. I've been on the side where I didn't have money and what my life was like. And then you have money and you do the right things with money, then it affords you a certain lifestyle. And I love that lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to share a little bit about my story in a second, but I wanted to ask you, right? Why is a mindset towards how we manage money so important?
Yeah, because mindset is everything, right? I think that what people don't realize is that I don't care how much money you make. If you don't have the right mindset, then you're still going to be broke, right? Meaning that if you're rich with a broke mindset, you're going to be broke. If you're broke with a rich mindset, you're going to be rich. So it's not the money, right? And statistics show us that, right? You see people who win the lottery, they lose the money within 5 years. The reason for it is because it's not the money, it's their mindset. If they have a broke mindset, you could give them millions of dollars, they will lose it, right? They will get right back to where their mindset is. Or you could take somebody who has a rich mindset, has no money, they will be rich, even if they lose it all.
Yeah,
they'll get it right back.
Yeah,
because they have that
so
mindset.
true.
And I think that the biggest lesson or the biggest thing, the misconception, is that a lot of people think that if I just made more money, then my situation would be different. But no, it's not the money. It's your mindset. If you fix your mindset, I promise you the money will come. And that's indicative. There's so many, different examples out there of people who had the wrong mindset, so they lost it. But when they fixed their mindset, they were able to get it all back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree with that more. I've shared my story many times on this podcast, Ash, but for your benefit, for those listening, we're now across 200 episodes of this podcast, which is mind blowing to me. But there is, and I'll just share this briefly in summary, right? once a time where I went through my own financial nightmare. It was back in summer of 2008.
That was a great year. A lot of people.
Listen,
yeah.
lost 7 figures in the business.
Wow.
Obviously impacted the personal life. The height of it happened 3 weeks after I got married.
Wow. Oh,
so I went from telling the bride, "Yo, I'm gonna buy you a brownstone here," to like, "Yo, can you cover rent?"
Wow.
And end up, pretty much carrying us through the next 18 months. While I tried to figure things out. And the business collapsed, had to rebuild everything from the ground up. Life really at that point was spinning out of control, right? And that came with the frustration, the embarrassment, the anxiety, the depression, right? And I'm a newlywed, right? So in the depth of that, I'm still, I think if anything was kind of the fuel, right? The mission fuel to get out of that, it was trying to keep the bride happy, right?
Right, for sure.
And keep the marriage intact and not allow that to crumble along with the business and everything else that was happening around me. But, it's at that point that, and, I'll preface this. There's no quick fix.
No,
right?
Absolutely
There's no
not.
quick fix. But it was definitely at that point where, in looking back now, I realized there were several sort of mindset shifts that started to happen. And as I look back now, 10, 12 years, right, at the mental moves that happened, there were a few shifts that I would say, Ash, took me from a mindset of scarcity in that season to the stability and the security that the bride loves, that provided for a happy home. So I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to share with you because the mindset shifts that majority of people need to focus on to move from that scarcity to that stability place. But let me just share with you a few of the things that I know I went through, and we can add on and build on that and discuss that. The first thing, Ash, I think it took was instilling a belief, right? I had to crawl out of the grave of depression, if you will, and together, I think we had to believe that a change could really happen in that dire situation, right?
For sure.
And ultimately believe that we could do it together. So that was the first thing I think that we had to come to. And then it was like a commitment to a goal, like having clarity of kind of where we were going to go, how we were going to clear this debt, and just begin working consistently towards that. The third thing probably was the most important. It was developing the right habits. I grew up in a home in Jamaica that 2 hardworking parents, still hardworking to this day, but we didn't grow up. My parents grew up in rural area of Jamaica. They never had anybody teach them about managing money. And on the flip side, my wife grew up in a household that was very disciplined about money, and it was generations of knowing how to handle the money. And it was developing this mindset, coming together with her, going through programs. We actually did Ramsey's FPU back in the day. And really a balance of some of Ramsey and some of, Kristen's family's mindset, developing habits that were going to carry us through. And part of that was this mind shift to say, you know what, let's start investing. Let's invest a percentage of our income, even in this valley.
Absolutely. Yep.
Even in this valley. And regardless of how much we could actually invest, it wasn't much.
Right. Absolutely. It's the habit.
But it's a habit of saying, you know what, we're going to invest anyway. And over time, allowing that investment percentage and amount to grow.
Absolutely.
And I think too, another thing too is this expectation that it wasn't going to be easy, and it wasn't going to be effortless, right? Like we were going to have to look at this as a long game, right? As a long game, and there are seasons where we bought a home, probably like 3 years after things kind of settled, purchased a home. We're still in this home. you know, going on 8 years now.
Yeah.
And you know, it was like there's a season where there are rooms in this house that were just empty.
Right.
And we're cool with it. You know, we're like, yo, we're saving the money. Not that we couldn't buy a sofa and put in that room.
For sure.
But we were like, yo, you know, we're raising young kids.
Yep.
And we need, you know, we need to be able to establish some money habits, right?
For sure.
And then, you know, over time things change. But, you know, the belief, the commitment, the habits, the investment, and the long game approach were some of these mindset shifts that I experienced. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this and expand on that.
Nah, you hit everything. You know, he hit the nail. Was it the nail on the head? Right? Yeah. Is that the so you hit the nail on the head? And so I agree 100%. You know, I think that you know, the other thing I would add, or two two things I would add. So one, I mean, you did earlier. You asked me what was I grateful for? Yeah. I think gratitude is a mindset shift that needs to come with, you know, your money mindset, right? Meaning that I think that a lot of times, you know, again, no matter what's going on, you have to be grateful for the opportunity to get out of the situation. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people are not grateful, right? And so, you know, I'm a big believer of the law of attraction, right? And whatever you focus on, whatever you resist, that's what's going to persist. And so if you're not in a state of gratitude, right? If you're not looking at your situation, no matter how, you know, the peaks, the valley, no matter where you are, if you're not grateful for that, you're not going to be able to understand that the world is abundant, because it's like you're cursing the gift, right? The gift is that, you know, God is giving you the ability at any time to make up your mind and create whatever you want to create. And so if you're looking at your situation and you're ungrateful for it, and you have breath in your body and you have the ability to change it, then that is not going to allow you to attract more things that you can be grateful for. Mm-hmm. And so I really believe that, as you mentioned, it starts with a belief system, right? Like, you have to believe that the world is abundant, that the universe is abundant, that no matter where you are today, you can get out of it, right? So that belief system, you know, then you have to be grateful. You have to be grateful for where you are, understand where you are at the current moment, but then also show gratitude for where you're going, right? Because it's not about if you'll get there, it's only about when. And so if you have it clear in your mind that this is my goal, I am a multimillionaire, it isn't about if I'm gonna be a multimillionaire, it's when I'm gonna be a multimillionaire. And now, because I am, right, not if, I am a multimillionaire, I'm gonna keep working every day as what? A multimillionaire. That comes from being grateful, right? And then it comes the habits that you mentioned. And the other piece that I'll add into it is changing your relationship with money. I have a similar story, right? So I was a banker, making a lot of money in the bank, 6 figures. You know, right around 2008, 2009, a lot of things shifted for me as a banker. And so I decided that I wanted to start writing my own book. I wanted to, become an entrepreneur. I'm making 6 figures at a bank. And so instead of like easing my way out and properly planning to jump into entrepreneurship, you know, I jumped out the window and was like, yo, I'm going to build the cape on my way down. Right. Fell flat on my face. Almost, I owned my own home at the time. Almost went through foreclosure, cars almost being repossessed, because what happened was, as an entrepreneur, I was making money, but I wasn't making enough money, right? And so I already had this 100,000 6-figure lifestyle, but I wasn't making 6 figures at my first year as an entrepreneur. And so I almost fell flat on my face. And so one of the things that, number one, that I realized was that, one, and same thing, right? Embarrassment. You know, you gotta think about it. I had just released my first book. I'm on television. I'm on radio. So talking everybody about knows money. Me. Yeah. But now I'm home about to go through foreclosure. Like, it was the worst time, right? But what I realized was a couple of things. Number one is that first I made my gift about me, right? Because I was getting a lot of publicity. I felt like I was hot. I felt like, you know, God gave me this gift so I could show off and say, look at me. And because of that, God was like, nah, that's not why I gave it to you. I gave you this story because I need you to help others. So number one, I had to stop making my business about me and making it about other people, right? But then I think, and this is so key, is that people need to change their relationship with money. We are taught that we need to work hard for money, where money needs to work hard for you. And it wasn't until I realized that the reason why I was in my situation was because I had too big of a reliance on my physical labor, meaning that if I didn't work, I didn't make money. And I was trading time for money. And time, we don't have an infinite amount of time. And so what happened was I couldn't make enough money as an entrepreneur because I was trading that time. And so when I say change your relationship with money, what happens is that we need to get in the mindset to say, okay, as I make this money, how do I take that money and invest it in income producing assets that allows that money to work for me? So like for me, what got me out of it was I started investing in real estate. Right. And so instead of, being, just someone who lived in real estate, I bought real estate and was able to get a tenant to pay me to live in my place. Right. And by doing that, I now created what's called passive income, right? Mailbox money, where I don't have to do anything and that money just comes in. You think about me, I'm an 8-time author. I've written 8 books.
Wow.
My first book came out in 2009. I've written 4 of them, have been bestsellers. I've sold thousands of books as a self-published author. Every year, I still get a check every month from a book that I wrote in 2009.
Wow.
Almost 10 years later, because I understand, right? Passive income is about taking your money, creating something one time and allowing yourself to get paid on it over and over and over again. You mentioned investments, whether investing in real estate, as I mentioned earlier, investing in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, investing in a business, investing in yourself and intellectual property. Like all of these things are investments that are going to allow you to eat for the long haul. And as long as you keep building those, then you'll have less amount of time that you are relying on your physical labor, because there's but so much time you can rely on your physical labor. And so I think that's definitely something that everybody, I don't care if you don't have an entrepreneurship bone in your body, every single person should have multiple streams of income, and most of those incomes should be passive. You should have a few income that's active, meaning that you have to work for it.
Right.
But as you're making money actively, you need to take that money, make it passive. And if you want to buy things, like I live in a big home, I like cars, but my money that pays for these things are not from my active work, it's from my passive work. And I think that's what we need to do, is change our relationship with money. Instead of working hard for money, money needs to work hard for us.
I love everything you just said, man. I talked about something in episode 200 that I'm kind of in this awareness of right now, the season of, and you touched on this. We both went through the season of life where it was survival mode, day to day. And that transition to a season of pursuit of success, the money, the titles, the power, the prestige. And you touched on something here, Ash, that, without even recognizing it, I just talked about this. I am shifting my own focus, and you've essentially said you're doing the same. I'm shifting from a focus on success. Not that success is not important, but I'm shifting from a pursuit of success to a pursuit of significance. Right?
Yes.
And it's this focus now on, and maybe it's being a parent, right? To pursue the legacy, to pursue the impact of the work we do on others. And I love you talking about the multiple income streams, because that's so important, especially as an entrepreneur, to ensure that, one thing might fail, but it's not going to bring the whole deck of cards down, right? So much gems in what you just shared. We could have gone on a whole other podcast and talk about some of that.
For sure.
Listen, as an entrepreneur, I wanted to, you touched on something there. At what point you are in making investments, but at what point do you, because as entrepreneurs, we're building, but at what point do you begin paying yourself from the business?
Yeah, I mean, so my mindset is a little different, you know, and so there might be experts out there that don't, you know, believe in what I'm about to say, but I don't believe in I don't believe in just in cases. I don't believe in plan Bs. I don't believe in doing things differently, like waiting until a certain space. And so I believe you start paying yourself first, right? I believe you start paying yourself immediately. And if but it also starts with knowing your number is what I would say, right? Is that a lot of times people start businesses and they don't necessarily set income goals for themselves.
Right.
They don't know how much items they need to sell, things of that nature. And so I say, when you are planning out your business. So if you just have a business and you started the business, I think that's the wrong thing to do. I think you need to plan out your business. I think you need to figure out, okay, how much money do I need to make in order to have the business flourishing and make sure the business can run? But then how much money do I need to make in order to pay myself as well? Because I want you to operate today like you're going to operate tomorrow, like you're going to operate in 10 years. Don't say that, okay, this is the beginning part of my business, and so I'm gonna operate, tight fist and operate this way until I get to this space. Because for me, from a mindset perspective, what you're telling yourself is that, you know what, I don't know where this business is gonna go. And so I wanna be cautious when I'm starting this business, because just in case something happens, I wanna be able to protect myself and things of that nature. And so for me, I'm saying forget all that. I'm saying start off your business the right way, right? There's a saying that says, if you don't have time to do it right, when will you have time to do it over? And so I don't want you to start your business, thinking about, later on. I want you to start your business today. I want you to get your LLC right. I want you to set up your business the right way so it's fundable by a bank. I want you to start building your business credit today, the first day. I want you to start doing everything you want to do. Like if you envision your business in 10 years, where do you want to see your business in 10 years? That's what you should be doing today, and then start working towards that. Because what happens too, when you do it that way, I believe that the universe expands your territory, right? Because you're telling the universe, you're saying, listen, I know this is where I am, and I'm working towards the I am. And so I'm going to do everything I need to do today to ultimately reach that I am. And so as you're doing that, you're expanding your mind. You're also allowing yourself to figure out, right? So if you right now, make an income, like if you're just starting a business and you're making $1,000 a month, but in order for you to pay yourself, you didn't make $1,500 a month, then you got to figure out, okay, how much other products do I need to sell? How much do I need to invest in marketing? Like, what else do I need to do in order to reach that $1,500 mark? So that way, that is your target, and you're working towards that every single day. And the other thing too is why I'm saying you pay yourself first now is because I love to deal in percentages, right? And so I'm saying that if, whether it's 10%, whether it's 20%, whether it's 30%, whatever you decide that's good for your business, that this is how much money I'll be paying myself first, then keep that percentage. So that way you make $1,000, you pay yourself 10%, that's $100. You make $10,000, that doesn't change. You now have created the habit that you're paying yourself 10%. So you make $10,000, you pay yourself $1,000. You make $100,000, you pay yourself, 10,000. You make $1 million, you pay yourself 100,000, and that never changes. So now you never have to shift your mode of operation. You're operating the same. You're operating the same way you would operate at $1,000 business is how you are operating with a multi-million-dollar business. And that allows you to now not have to focus on sort of semantics and doing things differently. You understand that habit, right? Habit is everything. You understand the habit of paying yourself first. You understand the habit of investing in yourself, in your business. You understand that habit. And as you understand that habit, you just kind of like expand on that. You keep expanding on that until you get to that space where that was reserved for you. That it's your birthright. That abundance is yours, and then you work from that space. So that's what I would do.
Amen, my brother. I love that, man. Yo, you coming back on the podcast because we need a part 2, man.
Yeah, let's do it, brother. Let's do it, man. I'm excited, man.
Listen, you touched on the fact that you've written a whole bunch of books. What should we be reading as we start this year? What books can we add to the reading queue or add to the audiobook queue and start taking in that's going to help us to shift that mindset?
Yeah. So there's two books in particular that I would say that I've written that are like awesome. One, I'm gonna say actually I'm gonna give you three books. I have a book called Mind Right, Money Right. That's my first book. Mind Right, Money Right: 10 Laws of Financial Freedom, which kind of breaks down everything you need to know in order to change your mind, right? Create a mindset shift. I also have a book called the Mind Right 21-Day Challenge, right? And that's the 21-day Mind Right, Money Right Challenge. Like what that book is, it literally is a step-by-step guide for 21 days. You go through everything you need to go through in order to change your money mindset, because your money mindset is important. So whether, we talked about, gratitude, we talked about, paying yourself first. We talk about visualization, belief, attitude, taking action, the right action. We talk about how your space, right? Space is important. Like when you wake up, is your space, together, or your space not together? We talk about giving. So all these things that you need to do in order to change your money mindset is in this book. But then also I have a book called Mind Right, Life Right: Manifesting Dreams Through the Laws of the Universe. And I think that is the best book that I've written, because I didn't write it, right? Because as I was writing it, I felt like it was like something that took over me, that was giving me these principles to write. And so really, there's really 9 mindset principles, as I call them, that help you, tap into yourself and to figure out how do you manifest all of your dreams and aspirations. So I would say Mind Right, Money Right: 10 Laws of Financial Freedom, the 21-day Mind Right, Money Right Challenge, and then Mind Right, Life Right: How to Manifest Your Dreams Through the Laws of the Universe. And if you notice, everything is mind right. Right? The name of my company is Mind Right Money Management, because I need you to understand that I don't care what you do. You could do whatever you want. If it doesn't start in the mind, it will not be right.
Yes. How can we gain access to the book, stay in contact with you? Tell us how we can connect to you.
For sure. So everything is on my website. So you can visit me online, iamashcash.com. You can follow me on all social media platforms, I am Ash Cash. And I put a lot of work in, so I'm not a new jack on here. So I'm also Googleable. So if you don't go to the website, you could Google my real name, which is Ash Exantus, Exantus, or you could Google Ash Cash, and everything will come up. My books, my programs, everything will come up. YouTube, everything, man. So like, I'm just happy to be here and happy to be able to share.
As a brand strategist, love it. Love your entire platform. So kudos to you. Last question for you. What's one action that our Blazer Nation can take that's going to help them to blaze their trail?
Yeah, be authentically you.
Yes.
The one action I want you to take is to be authentically you. I don't care how many people are doing what you want to do. I don't care how saturated you think the marketplace is. The one thing that no one on the planet Earth could do better than you is to be you. I didn't start seeing success in my career until I stopped being afraid of being me. Because I was a finance guy, I felt like I had to follow and do what finance people did. So I wore suits every day. I had expensive watches. I wanted to look the part. But for me, I'm from the projects, man. So that wasn't my natural mode of operation. And so until I started to be comfortable talking about money in my dialect, in the way I talk, I don't know if you could tell, but I have a lot of energy, right? And so until I was able to just be me, right? Because I was afraid, man. I'm a big guy, so this is a podcast, so you can't tell, but I'm 6'3", right? 311 pounds, right? Wow. So I'm a big guy. And so with all this energy, at first I used to like calm it down, because I'm like, man, people see this big black dude, yelling about money, like it's not going to go well. But long story short, it wasn't until I started being comfortable with who I am 100% and saying that people who don't appreciate me aren't my people, and be good with that, that's when I started to have success. So trailblazing nations, what I want you to do is I want you to be 100% who you are, right? And so one of my mentors, Dr. Seuss, once said, be who you are, say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, those who matter don't mind. And so be who you are, and those who are your tribe will be attracted to you, and you'll see all of the success that you want in life.
Love it. Ash, brethren, big ups, man.
Adrian,
Enough
yes, I
appreciation
appreciate
for
you,
you
man.
coming on, Star.
Nah, thank you, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for sharing your platform. I appreciate all that you do as well, brother. And it's so important because I think that in this space of, you know, building a brand and trying to get your word out there, it's important to do it in the right way.
Yeah.
And people have these stories, like we need these stories out there. And so I appreciate everything that you're doing, brother. And thank you for sharing the platform.
Thanks, man.
Yes, sir.